Welcome back to Landlines. I'm your host, Leslie Volker. In this episode, I met with Colorado Open Lands Community Outreach and Education Manager Yvonne Schramm to discuss the importance of connecting conservation work with the public. We also cataloged COL's suite of outreach and education programs that offer entry points for folks of all ages and levels of experience with the outdoors. The conversation took place in November at our Lakewood office. Yvonne, welcome to Landlines. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
To get us started, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about your background and your career path that led you to Colorado Open Lands.
Yeah. So I had always had a passion for the environment and always had a passion for people. So originally, I started out in college wanting to become a vet because that's what pretty much everyone wants to do. And about 1 year into my pre-vet program at Colorado State University, I took a class on environmental conservation and essentially was completely shocked and knew that I was in the wrong major. And that was, again, my first year. It was with Rick Knight. Pretty much everyone in Colorado knows Rick Knight. And after taking that class, I went to go see an advisor and they said, yep, you're in the wrong major based on what you want to do.
Wow.
And I switched immediately to an undergrad in wildlife biology. So I went through that for 4 years, but about my junior or senior year of college, I had the opportunity to take part in the DR and Ginny Pulliam Scholars Program, which essentially was a cohort program where you got to have a variety of different field experiences with environmental education, and you got to teach some elementary school students up at Bobcat Ridge Natural Area in Fort Collins.
Cool.
And I did that for a year and I just knew immediately that that's what I wanted to do. So I shortly after started working at the Environmental Learning Center at CSU. So after I finished my undergraduate degree in wildlife biology, I really decided that I needed something else to kind of complement that science background. I really figured out for myself that I wanted to work with people because I really think that people are the solution to conservation problems. And so I decided to do my graduate degree in conservation leadership, also at Colorado State University, with a pretty big focus on environmental education, but specifically place-based education. And that program specifically called out to me because it is a year of coursework, but it culminates in a project which was really important to me. I wanted to have some skills built by doing something effective on the ground with an organization that I cared about. And additionally, they let you choose to go out of the country. And being from South Africa originally, it was really important to me to go back to where I was from and to kind of give back to the community where I was from.
Yeah.
And so I ended up partnering with the Jane Goodall Institute Roots and Shoots, and I went back to South Africa for 4 months to work alongside them to build a Roots and Shoots network in Cape Town, South Africa. And that was completely new at the time. It was really exciting in Cape Town. I worked with 3 different schools, and we did all sorts of different community programs, after-school programs, and really just engaged with kids about the environment, people, and also wildlife. And it was a really great time. And so I finished that. I was really excited after I finished my education, and I wanted to dive into the real world. And I ended up working in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for a couple of years, managing youth programs at the Milwaukee County Zoo. And at that point, I really wanted to come back to Colorado.
Yeah.
I'd been here for almost 10 years at the time. And so I kind of just up and left and came back to Colorado and was applying for jobs. And actually, is a small world. This job that I have right now at Colorado Open Lands was posted in the alumni group on LinkedIn from my master's program. So it's
Oh,
kind of a small world circle. And it was posted there and I applied and I got it. And here I am almost 4 years later.
yeah. I was gonna say I've known you 4 years now, and I didn't know 2/3 of that. So thank you for explaining it to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why would you say that everyone should care about environmental education?
Well, from my perspective, conservation really is a problem that is human centric, but at the same time, it's also a solution that's human centric. So we're only going to be able to get people to care and do something about the environment or land and water conservation if they know about it, A, and if they care about it, B.
Yeah.
So that's why I really think it's just important that we educate folks in an effective way about the work we do and ultimately also what they can do about it.
Right. So making the problem approachable and making the solutions achievable.
Correct.
Excellent. So at Colorado Open Lands, we've developed a handful of programs that speak to environmental education, outreach, engaging with the public. And the first one I want to talk about today is the Conservation Leadership Series. Now, in my estimation of the program, what we do is we recruit early to mid-career professionals, and we engage them in a year-long program where we explain how land and water conservation works. We take them on a handful of tours. We give them those boots on the ground experiences because we find it so much more powerful when people can see things with their own eyes, touch them with their own hands, get their boots dirty. So I remember when we started CLS, we really kind of designed it from the ground up. And then we got you on board, and you've really just increased the professionalism, the systematicness of it, and like build us out a curriculum that I think is so much more effective in achieving the goals of what the program set out for. Can you tell me, Yvonne, what kind of people are we trying to enroll in Conservation Leadership Series?
Yeah, absolutely. So, truly, what we look for are early to mid career professionals that have had 3 to 20 ish years of experience in their field. So, it's quite broad. We don't like to bottle people into a specific age. And the goal is to also have people come that are in all sorts of different industries across the state of Colorado. So we're not just looking for folks that are in the natural resource industry, but we're also looking for folks that could have an impact in their community that is kind of adjacent and can still, support land and water conservation. So in the past, we've had folks that are in the law field. We've had folks that are in urban planning or even in architecture, the arts, all sorts of different professions that have a passion for land and water conservation. And yet they don't directly work in it.
Yeah.
And so in some shape or form, whether that's in their personal lives or in their professional lives, then they can integrate what they're learning to kind of have a positive impact.
Great. And what's it like on the first day? Are people nervous? Are they like making friends? Is it like first day of like college class, or what's it like?
It's honestly a little bit odd every single year just because it is kind of that first day of class. People tend to come in and they don't really know what to expect. It's one of those things where, yes, you signed up for something, you're excited to do it, and you've seen testimonials online, but you're kind of like, what am I actually getting myself into?
Right.
And so that first day, we really just do an introduction to who we are at Colorado Open Lands, have them meet a couple of staff members, and also just give them an introduction to the work that we do. Most people come in thinking, okay, we're talking about land and water conservation, but most people don't know that we're talking mostly about private land and water conservation. So it's a new concept for many folks. Some people might be familiar with conservation easements, but some folks might not know about it yet. So it's really just an introductory day, and folks get to know each other a little bit more and just, see some new faces. But I would say it takes until at least July until people really get to know each other and have a lot of fun with one another.
Yeah. And how long does the program go? What month do you start? What month do you stop?
Yeah, so we typically start the program in March and then we finish with a little happy hour graduation, so to say, in November.
Great. And there's no cost for the participants to attend. Is that right?
Overall, yes, there is no cost, but we do ask participants to help with hotel stays if they choose to go on an overnight stay.
For sure.
I will say it's an offset cost. It's not the full cost of the room. And additionally, if the participant is not able to pay that price, we'll work with them in order to make sure they can still go.
So this is privately funded through donations to Colorado Open Lands, and then we provide this program to these young professionals.
Correct.
Excellent. Do you have a favorite memory from a CLS outing?
I think I have a favorite memory that happens pretty much every single year.
Yeah.
It's one specific experience in Hartselle, Colorado, with some amazing landowners at Santa Maria Ranch. And they invite us over for a work day. And so we actually also get to be out on the land. It's a conserved property. We get to be out on the land and we really get to help support what they're trying to achieve on their property. One year we've taken down fencing, which helps wildlife. Another year we've put up different fencing, which helps their rotational grazing operation. But the most meaningful part, and I always hear this from participants too, is that we get to stay with the landowners and we get to camp there and we have a little fire at nighttime. We sometimes go to see the sunset together, and just speaking with the landowners and hearing their story is what really makes a difference. And I will say I go back every year, and it's my favorite part every single year, spending that time with the participants, but also the landowners who just have such a joy and are just so caring about their land.
Yeah. So they get to be a rancher for a day, and they also get to make a personal connection.
Yes.
Wonderful. So what differences can you see in our participants from day one until graduation?
I think about this a lot because my master's program was also cohort based. And I think it's a really important learning style, being among other people that have differences in terms of maybe where they're coming from, but also have some sort of similarity by having a passion for land and water conservation. And as I said earlier, on that first day, people are kind of a little jittery. They don't really know each other. They don't really have, friends yet. But I think one of the biggest differences you just see is the change in how people are interacting with one another. By the end of the year on those land excursions, people are really open to asking very inquisitive questions about what we're engaging with. They, have positive and productive debate about topics instead of, just having their own opinion about things.
Yeah.
So I think it's really that change in how people are communicating with one another about land and water conservation that is the most impactful.
Very cool. Okay, next topic. We host teacher training workshops. Tell me what that's all about.
Yeah, so this is also another favorite part of my job, which is hosting these teacher workshops annually. And I will say this was all started by a wonderful lady named Judy Lopez, who started the teacher workshops with the intent of getting teachers educated about land and water conservation, having them build skills, and then taking them into the classroom. And she has been doing these programs for probably about 20 years at this point.
Wow.
And when I first started at Colorado Open Lands 4 years ago, one of the things that was asked of me was figure out how we can replicate or expand those programs. Because we had been doing these teacher workshops or helping with these teacher workshops in the San Luis Valley for a really long time. And so because of that, I don't even know how this came about. It was a brainstorm actually with another one of my colleagues. And she was like, well, there's this one location that's a conserved property in Fairplay that we've been to. That would be an amazing place for a teacher workshop. And so I went out. We looked at the place and I was like, yes, this is absolutely perfect. And it is a conserved property by us, but it is owned by Mountain Area Land Trust. And so when I brought the idea to Tony, our CEO and president, he was immediately on board with planning a teacher workshop there. But kind of backing it up a little bit, and what really is this teacher workshop? Essentially, it's a multi-day program where we invite teachers, K through 12, from across the state of Colorado to join us for, I want to say intensive, but also extremely fun curriculum where they engage with expert guest speakers about land water conservation, and they build skills, environmental education skills that they can bring into their classroom. And most importantly, we also give them time and space to really reflect on, okay, this is what we did today, but I have kindergartners, or I have an art class, or I have this resource at my school. So how is what I learned today applicable to my situation, so that they can really start figuring out how they'll use it next year? Because if we don't give that time, it's extremely difficult for a teacher to find time in order to implement it into their classroom in a positive way.
So the lessons are adaptable to that whole K through 12 spectrum.
They truly are. And again, because we give that space where they can then adapt it, that's what makes it successful, because they're around peers and they're around different guest speakers that can kind of collaborate with them on different ideas.
And something I think, forgive me if this is incorrect, that you missed in your overview, is it is extremely hands-on. Like, you get muddy, you get dirty, you're turning logs. You're digging in streams.
Absolutely. It is extremely hands-on. It's kind of a combination, though, because we wanted to also be realistic for teachers. And not all teachers can hop into a creek outside their school. So we do have a couple of activities that are, you could do indoor, you could do it in a school yard. Like, you can, if you find a tree near you, you can do this activity. But we also have some really fun experiences where we, have partnered with Colorado Parks and Wildlife that do electrofishings, where we're looking for those in the stream. And we do a lot of different types of activities.
Yeah. And the teachers get some type of professional for continuing education credit. Tell me the term.
Yes. So we give them continuing education units, or CEUs, and they can use that for their relicensure in the state of Colorado, because I believe it's 7 or 9 years right now, they have to do a relicensure through the Colorado Department of Education. And this type of CEU will help them achieve that.
Excellent. And so when the average teacher, let's say outside of science, starts their career in education, what kind of outdoor education background are they normally getting in their own education? Does that make sense? It's a lot of education.
I think it's a really big spectrum.
Yeah.
So similarly to someone that, might be similarly to someone who might work in architecture, they might know a lot about land and water conservation. A lot of the times it's because of how you grew up, or the passions that you just have in general and the exposure that you've had. But at the same time, we also have teachers that may not have that background. They may not have had those opportunities as a child, or they may not have that opportunity as an adult. So just giving them the exposure to the outdoors and, giving them the time to practice the skills outdoors so they feel confident in it, really kind of empowers them to then bring it into their classroom. So again, I think it's a spectrum as to how much people know, just like the general, everyone has a spectrum of how much they know about the education. But if you're getting a teaching license, it doesn't mean that you're getting a science background. And at the same time, science can be integrated in so many different subjects besides science.
Right, right. And I remember being in elementary school in the 1980s. Shout out Elm Grove, which has now been razed to the ground, and I think is a soccer field. But the best days at elementary school were the days where we go to the outdoor classroom, which was just a circular set of benches in a little grove. And it was just the most fun.
Yep.
Do you, so what do we know about the exposure that kids these days are or aren't getting to the outdoors?
I think this is one of those things, again, where it's a huge spectrum.
Sure.
Kind of your story just sparked a memory for me as a child myself. Yes, I lived in South Africa, but I also lived in Colorado for a couple of years. And I was a Jefferson County elementary school student, and every single elementary school student in that county gets to go to outdoor lab, which is like an overnight experience out in the mountains. And I vividly remember like a raptor program coming, and there were like owls on people's like arms, and you could see them so close up.
Oh, cool.
And that to me like sparked something for me. So I kind of like, that as an anecdote of like those types of experiences can really make a difference for youth. And sometimes youth do have those experiences. Some counties offer programs like that. Some schools are outdoor based. But some schools don't have the resources to do that. And so in those cases, some of those students might not have any exposure to the outdoors, and then they might not have that in their home either.
Right. Right. And, when I, in my role as communications director here at Colorado Openlands, when I ask people why they have chosen to get involved in this type of work, almost to a person, they bring up a childhood experience with their family in their backyard at a park. So I think seeding that passion and that interest young is so important.
Yeah, it's truly those formative experiences as a kid that kind of can elevate it as a passion when you get older. And teachers really are a vehicle for inspiring that. Of course, you can learn it at home. But teachers spend in the state of Colorado almost 160 days with students. So why not use some of that time to integrate environmental learning into their typical curriculum that still supports the state standards they have to meet?
That's a great point. Okay, Yvonne, in our pre-recording brief, you mentioned this might be controversial, but what can you tell me about kids and screen time versus kids in nature?
Yes. So that's a good question. There has been a lot of research over many years that started with a term called nature deficit disorder. I think that was maybe the 90s or early 2000s. And essentially the term meant that kids are not outside anymore. Kids are on screens, they're inside, they don't have the opportunities. There's this disconnect between them and nature. There has been some critique on the concept of nature deficit disorder, that it's kind of simplifying the problem and that there's other cultural implications, even that as adults, that we are kind of breaking the cycle.
Yeah.
So there have been critiques of the nature deficit disorder. But I mean, even if I think about myself, how much time I spent in nature as a kid versus how much screen time I had as a kid.
Yeah.
And then I think about some people that I know, I definitely feel like they might be on a screen more than they are outside in green spaces.
Okay, so even if the science isn't settled or there isn't a dominant theory, I think we can all agree that kids are better off if they have more exposure to the outdoors.
100%.
So can you give me a favorite memory from teacher workshops this year?
Absolutely. I think one of my favorite things is seeing the impromptu learning opportunities throughout the time you're there. So we have things planned right almost down to the second throughout the whole entire week. But the one thing that was really exciting this year is the hunt for the beavers. So there is a very active beaver dam on the property at Sacramento Creek Ranch. And we had a couple teachers joining us from the Denver metro area. And their thing that week was, we've got to see a live beaver. So every single day before class started at dusk and at dawn, they would go search for this beaver, and they would tiptoe all the way up there. They would look for it. They would kind of just sit down and wait just to see one of them. And it just did not happen until the very last night before our last day. They went on up there and I actually joined them. And just for the briefest amount of time, we saw this chonky little beaver kind of swim along in the dam, go over the dam and wander down. So it was a really great experience because we talked so much about beavers and restoration and riverscapes that week. And so finally being able to see this engineer in the flesh was a fascinating experience.
Awesome. Very cool. So I want to shift gears a little bit into another program out of your department, and that is Conserved Colorado. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, Conserve Colorado is a really fun one. So essentially, it is a guide that connects consumers in the state of Colorado with businesses that operate on conserved land. So that can be anything from, someone that's offering fly fishing on a conserved property to someone that is harvesting lavender and then making soaps that they're selling to people across the state. So it's really just a great way for people who are interested in conservation, who want to support conservation, to support landowners who have really given Coloradans the ultimate gift by protecting their properties.
Yeah. Can you give me a run through of, some of your favorite offerings in the Conserve Colorado Guide?
Yeah, there's some really fun ones that are quite unique. The ones that come to mind right away in terms of experiences, there's llama trekking that you can do in Westcliff. There's hat making classes that you can do. There's chainsaw workshops. So really it runs the gamut in terms of experiences. But of course, you also have our guest ranches you can stay at, fly fishing, horseback rides, etc. And then in terms of products, there's also some really fun ones, but you can see things such as soaps, meat cuts, wines, spirits, wool offerings that you can use to sew things or to knit things. So there's really a multitude of different options out there.
So for people that want to shop local, buy local, and shop conserved, this sounds like a great resource.
This is the perfect resource for that.
Great. So can you tell me about the benefits to landowners for us offering this guide?
Yeah, I think one of the greatest benefits is just getting the word out about what they've been doing in a very unique way. As far as I know, I don't think there's a different type of guide like that is just for people who have conserved their properties. And this isn't just COL properties. It's actually any property conserved in the state of Colorado by any land trust or any organization. So it's a way for them to get the word out about what they've done and, showcase their unique offerings to folks that truly care about conservation.
Yeah. And why do the consumers like it?
I mean, like you said, it's folks that love to shop local, love to shop conserved, and it's an easy way for them to invest their money in something that truly matters.
Right. And so, we're not a marketplace or a consumer-facing organization in that way. How does COL hosting this program help advance conservation?
That's a really great question. In my opinion, it's a really great entryway into conservation for folks who might not know anything yet. It's something that, people are doing, they're shopping, so might as well offer them a way to shop local and conserved. And in a way, essentially, it's created so that, yes, they can shop from all these businesses, but there's also some education around it. There's education around what does this mean? What are you actually shopping from? What does a conserved property mean? And how does it benefit them living in the state of Colorado?
And I know there's a kind of growing desire to get to know the people that grow your food and make your food. And this sounds like a really cool opportunity to do that with yourself and your family.
We oftentimes also add in stories from the land in these guides. So it's also a way for people to learn about the people behind the products that they are selling to consumers. So it is definitely a way for them to get to know the land and the people that make all these experiences and products happen.
Great. And people can find this guide where?
Yes, this guide can be found on conservedcolorado.org, and it was just recently, very excitingly, reproduced in a very interactive map-based way online. So this is accessible even on your cell phone if you're traveling across the state and you're like, oh, I'm in Aspen or I'm in Basalt or wherever you may be. Let me look what offerings are available, and you can just check it out and click on some lovely offerings and learn a little bit more about the organizations.
Great. Okay, so we have one more kind of suite of work under your umbrella that, maybe somebody isn't a teacher, they're not a young professional, they don't have any shopping to do, or they're all stocked up on meat and experiences and soap. And that is outreach, hikes and webinars and events. Can you tell me a little bit about our offerings?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. We, over the years, were getting a lot of requests about, well, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a young professional, so what am I supposed to do? Yeah. And essentially we were like, well, we should probably have some offerings available for them. So these offerings are for absolutely anybody. So you can be completely new to conservation, or can be an expert at conservation if you want to be. And we create a series across a whole entire year, everything from just introduction to what we do as an organization, to hikes out on the land, to meeting with different landowners. We even have webinars available. So if you're like, I don't know if I want to invest a half a day yet because you don't know us, you can join a webinar to learn information that way, just from the comfort of your home. And yeah, we really just try to create offerings for you to learn a little bit more about what we do as an organization and why it's important.
And these are offered at what price?
They are completely free for everyone.
Wow.
So anyone, please come on over and join us.
Pretty much you just have to bring a good attitude and maybe some sunblock. Am I right?
Yeah. Yes, we actually even have some sunblock though with us. So you don't even need to bring that.
Good attitude is the base.
Exactly. Just a good attitude and a willingness to learn.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on this, but why are we doing this?
Yeah, we're doing this because it is an audience that might not otherwise have an opportunity to learn from us. And I mean, there are more people in the state of Colorado than just teachers and young professionals. Yeah. Everyone matters. Everyone's voice matters. And especially in the work of conservation and conservation easements, where our work is reliant on, policies. And it's important for people to know what's going on in their state and know how to support these policies in their state.
Great. Well, listeners, I hope a bunch of you meet us on the land in 2026. Yvonne, if someone wants to participate in any of these programs you just mentioned, how do they get involved?
Just go onto our website, which is coloradoopenlands.org, and you'll see a tab about education and ways to get involved, and that's the best way to get started. I will say that our Conservation Leadership Series application opens in January, so get on there real quick. And then in terms of teacher workshops, that will open up in spring. Usually around March or so. And then for all of our other programs, you can find information as it becomes available on our website.
And Conserve Colorado is available 365 days a year. And then the Lessons from the Land series, the outreach hikes and webinars and things, those just pop up, as they come up.
Yep, correct. Okay. So as they come up, they will be added to the website. Sometimes we do try to put out the dates early. Sometimes they do end up changing, but we really try our best to commit to those dates that we put up on our website. And Conserve Colorado, like you said, is always available. We do update it twice a year.
Great. And then if you're not in the habit of going back to our website on a monthly basis, you can also subscribe to our email newsletter. Those offerings are available there, and you can find that at coloradoopenlands.org/subscribe. Yvonne, any last thoughts or words you'd like to share with our audience?
I think the last things I have to say is that I really hope that we get to meet you out on the land this year. There's really an opportunity for everyone. Bring along your family, bring along your friends, and let's learn a little bit about conservation.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Yvonne.
Thank you.
I'm Leslie Volker, and this has been Landlines. If you'd like to sponsor this podcast, please reach out to me at lvolkar@coloradoopenlands.org. Thanks for listening.